Oh my goodness, the With Love Meghan Season 2 trailer just dropped. It's as bad as you'd expect.
What the hell for? The fruit plate was crap.
Because they put like another oldies track, Rockin' Robin, cheat, cheat, tweet. They do that song. But I removed it. And it's actually even funnier and even more boring because the only energy this trailer had was that song.
I love the idea of spending time together and finding new ways to show people you care.
Oh, she's clapping for us. That's a meme. Why is she blinking before she claps?
Believe me, Meghan, let's just go and eat cheese. You know that's my life dream. I love these moments of discovery and beauty. So let's be curious together.
It's even worse. So you ready for the maximum cringe?
The opening scene was meant to feel charming, with the perfectly timed pop of the toaster, a warm laugh, and Meghan turning as if caught in a spontaneous moment of happiness. Yet, even in those initial seconds, it felt orchestrated, as though a director had quietly murmured and cued just before the toast popped up.
I literally can't exactly. That's about the face I would think. Like, I can't even imagine the pain that would have to put me through.
Then came the berries rolling toward what appeared suspiciously like a drainage grate, filmed in soft focus, as if no one would notice where they landed, all set within a home we've seen before, the same glossy Montecito backdrop that insiders insist isn't even her real kitchen. The walls were spotless, the counters pristine, the lighting almost unnaturally perfect for a supposed casual Saturday morning. It was the kind of promo designed to make you believe you're peeking into a private day, but anyone familiar with Meghan's Netflix work knows the pattern: a carefully curated smile, a flawlessly arranged countertop prop, and just enough conversation to feel spontaneous while every movement is painstakingly choreographed. People who've been on set claim that nothing, not even the angle of a coffee mug, is left to chance. Even the exchange with the chef about her husband's dislike of lobster is said to be the only unscripted moment in the entire teaser, and it only made the cut because it scored well with a test group. The problem is, when you pile up those manufactured moments, the joy stops feeling genuine and starts feeling like a transaction, which is exactly the rumor making the rounds now.
Some two people were making what looked like a out of pottery in the middle of that trailer.
That second season isn't really about connection. It's about conversion. Not turning skeptics into fans, but turning viewers into paying customers. Behind the scenes, word is that while you're watching her frost cupcakes or shape a clay pot, a digital team is tracking every click, ready to link you to the exact items you see on screen. The scarf casually draped just right, the sprinkles discovered mid-shoot, even the serving dish holding those less-than-appetizing pastries. Every detail is part of the QVC playbook dressed up as a cozy lifestyle series, and Netflix seems to be leaning hard into it. They've invested in making sure every shot could double as a product photo, every scene as a shoppable moment. The holiday tie-ins, the seasonal decor, the way the camera lingers on a label just long enough for it to stick in your head, it's calculated, polished, and, to some, a bit cold. But here's where it gets more complicated. Insiders say the trailer wasn't just promoting Season 2, it was testing a bigger gamble, a shift from storytelling to a full-blown sales channel. If it clicks with the right demographic, Meghan's brand could become even more transactional in real time. And if it flops, well, those same insiders claim Netflix already has its backup plan. But that was only the beginning.
Is that appealing to anybody? I don't want to see berries falling in a sewer grate.
When the headlines first broke, they were dressed up in the kind of polished PR language that makes everything sound like a victory, multi-year first-look deal, expanded creative partnership, phrases rolled out like a champagne toast. But behind that glossy spin, the atmosphere inside Netflix was far from celebratory. This wasn't a continuation of the reported $100 million splash Harry and Meghan landed when they first left the palace. It was a trim, a leash, a quiet admission that the numbers just weren't working anymore. For anyone unfamiliar with Hollywood's backrooms, a first-look deal isn't a golden contract. It's more like an open invitation. Bring us your ideas. We'll glance at them before you take them elsewhere. If we like one, you make it here. If we pass, you're free to shop it around. And here's the key difference. There's no massive lump sum wired into your account for just showing up. You get paid only if a project gets greenlit, and you're paid on a per-project basis. That's a far cry from a guaranteed 9-figure payday. Insiders say this was Netflix's way of letting both sides save face. No public, "we're done here," that would humiliate the Sussexes, and no messy Spotify-style fallout with investors questioning the low return. Instead, they packaged it as an extension while the fine print quietly stripped away the perks. One source was blunt. "It's a downgrade, but a polite one." So why keep them at all? That's where the whispers turn strategic. People close to the streamer hint they're playing the long game, not banking on the holiday special or the lifestyle show, but on the ticking clock of the marriage itself.
Nothing's going to work for them, is it? The whole thing is, nobody gives a damn because they are tarnished, aren't they?
Netflix hasn't forgotten the numbers from the tell-all docuseries they know nothing Harry and Meghan have released since has come close. If the fairy tale partnership ever cracks, if separate his and hers interviews ever land on the table, that's lightning in a bottle they'd never walk away from. And having first rights to that story is reason enough to keep them on the roster. In the meantime, the only new project getting a real push is the Christmas special neatly folded into the as-ever lifestyle brand. On paper, it's a magical holiday celebration in Montecito. Off paper, industry watchers see it as a streaming-ready product catalog. Every cozy scene seems timed to nudge viewers toward an online store, with the filming window rumored to coincide with a fresh product drop, so those monogrammed mugs or artisan sprinkles can be purchased before the credits even roll. It's a clever pivot if you believe holiday charm can disguise the sales pitch, and a desperate one if you think the audience has already spotted the pattern. According to people in the room, Netflix knows the risk. The trailer is just the opening volley. They're watching to see if viewers stick around when the line between entertainment and advertising all but disappears. But that's only setting the stage, because the real déjà vu is about to hit. You don't have to be a seasoned critic to notice that the Season 2 trailer feels like last year's reel dusted off, slipped into a new sweater, and sent back out. Same upbeat background track, same overly tuned warm lighting. Even the "let's spend time together" mantra recycled word for word, as if the script was copy-pasted alongside the props. And that's not creative stubbornness. Season 2 wasn't sparked by fresh inspiration. It was filmed right alongside Season 1, using the same sets, the same wardrobes, and the same supporting faces drifting through with their perfectly timed smiles. If you were expecting growth, a new tone, or even different activities, insiders say you're in for a familiar ride. The only real change is that the sales choreography is now even more precise.
Why are we watching these berries fall down a dirty sewer grate?
People close to production claim the overlap was intentional. By filming 2 seasons in one go, the team avoided the expense and uncertainty of regrouping later. But that decision also locked them into the original formula before they had any feedback on Season 1's fruit plates, stage discoveries, and that now infamous fake kitchen. Whatever notes the public might have offered, there was no way to adapt. The footage was already in the can, and it shows. The beats follow the same order: a quick craft segment, a short giggle with a celebrity guest, a close-up of some artisan ingredient. There's even a moment in the new trailer where Meghan marvels, "I could do this every day," mirroring almost exactly a clip from last season. For viewers who felt the first run leaned more on style than substance, that déjà vu could land hard. This time, though, there's an extra twist. Watch closely, and you'll notice how often the camera lingers on a label, a logo, or a full-frame shot of a product conveniently available on, as ever. Sources say the product placement isn't subtle because it's not meant to be. Netflix wanted to see if audiences would embrace a shift from lifestyle content to a fully shoppable experience, betting that loyalty would hold long enough for viewers to hit add to cart instead of exit episode. The risk, of course, is that the repetition, same look, same tone, same carefully staged chaos will remind people why season 1 left them cold. And if they bail early, no amount of clickable sprinkles will make up for the drop in viewing time. Still, it's the cameos that draw the biggest raised eyebrows. They were meant to be the sparkle, proof the show was connected to Hollywood's inner circle, even if the rest was cupcakes and craft glue. But instead of playing it safe, Season 2's guest lineup has become a case study in tone-deaf casting, most glaringly Chrissy Teigen. For anyone keeping score, Harry and Meghan have spent years publicly championing the fight against online bullying, especially toward children, speaking at summits, aligning with advocacy campaigns, and presenting cyber harassment as one of the defining evils of the digital age. Yet here's Chrissy, smiling in the kitchen, trading pleasantries with Meghan, as though her own online history didn't exist. This is the same Chrissy who, as widely reported, once told a teenage girl on Twitter to take her own life. The backlash then was intense, and the memory hasn't faded.
With love, I don't even know what it means. I'm not even going to pretend I do. Last time was her in her kitchen, but it wasn't her kitchen.
Then there's Jay Shetty, a man with a massive following and a polished self-help guru image, yet one who's long faced accusations of embellishing parts of his backstory and lifting others' content without credit. For a show built on warmth and authenticity, it's an odd pairing. Insiders say the booking decisions weren't about credibility or shared values. They were about reach, about tapping into big follower counts to drive views regardless of the baggage attached. The irony is that this is exactly the kind of optics over substance move critics have called the Sussex's Achilles heel since leaving the royal bubble, a public posture centered on values paired with partnerships that tell a murkier story. As one former collaborator bluntly put it, you can't be the face of compassion in the morning and pose with a known cyberbully by the afternoon. People notice, and they don't forget. This isn't new for Meghan's orbit. Throughout her public life, she's been photographed alongside people who later became PR disasters, always with the same polished smile and composure. To some, that suggests she doesn't vet her company closely enough. To others, it's proof that the cause-driven image is more about optics than true alignment. Either way, the risk is the same. Skeptics will see the cameos as validation of their doubts, and neutral viewers may start questioning how much of the show's heart is genuine. And once that seed of doubt is planted, it's hard to unask the question. But the cameos are just the visible face of a deeper shift behind the scenes, one that's all about scarcity, sales, and an ever-present add-to-cart button. Meghan's team frames every product drop as a runaway hit, with sold out in record time becoming as routine as her on-camera laugh. Yet insiders, and some frustrated customers, tell a different story. They claim the sellouts aren't driven by overwhelming demand, but by deliberately limited supply. According to people familiar with the as-ever operation, the real inventory numbers for many launches are so small that items can disappear from stock within hours, not because thousands are buying, but because there were only a few hundred available in the first place. It's a classic influencer marketing trick. Control supply to spark buzz, then let the illusion of massive demand carry the hype into the next launch. That buzz, in turn, fuels the next drop, and the cycle repeats. This is where the holiday special ties in. On the surface, it's a warm Montecito celebration, friends and family trimming the tree, baking festive treats, and making heartfelt crafts. But sources say it's been timed down to the week to sync with an as-ever holiday release, with every ornament, every table setting, and every prop in those cozy kitchen scenes allegedly available to purchase before the credits even finish rolling.
If that's not what I'm looking at, like, what is that? Also, those mugs are hideous. They couldn't get better mugs?
It's the kind of synergy retail dreams are made of. If the audience doesn't feel like they're being sold to, that's the tightrope. A lifestyle brand can weave shoppable moments into its narrative without sliding into infomercial territory. But if the camera lingers too long on product labels, or if the dialogue feels built around the merchandise instead of the other way around, the illusion breaks. And when it breaks, Viewers stop feeling like welcomed guests at a holiday gathering and start feeling like unpaid extras in a commercial. Critics are already eyeing another complication: the fact that, for many, the holiday season carries deep ties to faith traditions. In the UK, Catherine has firmly anchored her public image to Christmas carol services centered on community and church. Meghan, in contrast, is estranged from much of her extended family, rarely discusses faith, and in recent years has cultivated a brand that's aspirational and entirely secular. Supporters see nothing wrong with that. Christmas, they argue, can be whatever you make it, but detractors frame it as yet another example of her stepping into a role without the lived credibility to back it up. Either way, the stakes for this special are high. It's not just a warm and fuzzy year-end closer. It's a litmus test for whether as ever can seamlessly merge entertainment and direct-to-consumer sales on a major streaming platform. If it works, expect the shoppable content strategy to become the template for every project that follows. But there's another playbook Harry and Meghan have been accused of pulling from, one less about creating something original and more about attaching their brand to something already complete. On the surface, the holiday special aims to radiate togetherness, glittering lights, a crackling fire, friends sharing laughter over a meal, the kind of montage that makes you want to pour hot cocoa and sink into the glow. Yet, for those who followed Meghan's public life closely, the faces around that family table raise more questions than they answer.
You know as well as I do that unless it involves the British royal family, no one cares.
The reality is that the guest list is made up almost entirely of outer circle acquaintances. There's no trace of her father, no gifts from half-siblings, no aunts, uncles, or cousins. Even Harry's royal relatives are absent. No appearances from his brother, sister-in-law, or father. For viewers with long memories, the omissions are glaring, especially in a format that markets itself as a guide to celebrating Christmas with your nearest and dearest. Critics can't help but note the contrast with Catherine, who in the UK has turned Christmas into a cornerstone of her public persona. Her annual carol services have become a televised tradition rooted in community, charity, and church, with candlelit imagery that's solemn yet uplifting and tied directly to faith and service. Meghan's Montecito edition, by all early accounts, is faith-free and product-heavy, the only service being the kind that delivers her branded goods in 2 to 3 business days. That contrast is already feeding op-eds and gossip columns. Some cast it as a clash of visions, one steeped in tradition, the other firmly modern. Others see it as brand opportunism, dressing a sales pitch in the trappings of holiday togetherness. The danger for Meghan is that the gap between the image she's selling and the reality on screen becomes too obvious to overlook. Once viewers clock the absence of genuine family ties, the cozy holiday atmosphere starts to feel less like a lived experience and more like a curated set piece.
Here's the fake house. Now they get some more shots of the fake house that she rented because it's not her house.
Sources close to Netflix admit they're aware of the tension, and just as aware that controversy can fuel curiosity. The holiday special is being framed not only as seasonal content, but as a marketing experiment. Can a celebrity convincingly sell the illusion of communal festivity without her actual community present? If enough viewers tune in to see for themselves, the gamble pays off regardless of what critics say afterward. But another wave of skepticism is building, and it's not about who's seated at the table. It's about how much of the special was truly created from scratch versus how much may have been borrowed from someone else's work and rewrapped in Archwell branding. If the whispers are accurate, Meghan and Harry could be revisiting one of their most controversial patterns. The premise, on its face, is undeniably uplifting. A short film spotlighting young dancers from Uganda's Masaka region, many of whom have endured devastating loss from famine and the HIV/AIDS crisis, using music and movement as a path to healing. Standing alone, it's the kind of story that, naturally inspires goodwill.
Cooking, well, sort of just cutting up some fruit and saying that, this is what weekends are for, just for me to understand how people care so much about how they eat their melons.
Film industry chatter suggests there's a wrinkle that could shift how people view the project. The film, titled Masaka Kids, A Rhythm Within, was reportedly marked as completed on IMDb long before Netflix or Archwell became involved, fueling speculation that Meghan and Harry didn't originate the project, but instead joined late to place their branding on it and claim part of the spotlight. If true, it wouldn't be the first instance. Similar controversy arose with the Live to Lead documentary when participants, including former New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern, publicly stated that the Sussexes were not present during filming of their interviews. Ardern even hinted she might have declined participation had she known they'd later be attached. The optics were awkward then, but a repeat now could be more damaging. For Netflix, co-branding an existing, meaningful project is an efficient way to fill its content library while associating with uplifting stories. For Meghan and Harry, it's a chance to appear as champions of inspiring causes without the heavy lift of creating them from the ground up. The risk, however, is clear if collaborators or the media start pointing out Archwell's limited creative input. The narrative shifts from amplifying important voices to taking credit for someone else's work. The stakes are higher this time because the Masaka Kids project ties directly to Harry's long-standing work in Africa, which could have been a straightforward PR win, but also reopens criticism around white savior optics, a charge Harry has faced before. If the public believes Archwell's primary role was to repackage a story already being told by local voices, Backlash could overshadow the praise. Still, many viewers won't care about production timelines or branding politics. They'll be moved by the story's emotional core. Netflix is banking on that audience being big enough to drown out criticism, but behind the scenes, industry insiders are already questioning how many more pre-existing projects Archwell can latch onto before the formula feels worn out, especially with new controversies from Harry's charity world on the horizon that could make those optics impossible to ignore.
Biggest bully in the world, Chrissy Teigen, is now part of this show. How the just tone deafness of Meghan Markle.
For years, Harry's charitable image has been deeply intertwined with his work in Africa, the constant thread in his speeches, the place he often credits with giving him purpose after his mother's death, and the cause that has shaped much of his public philanthropy. But in recent months, that legacy has been overshadowed by a far less inspiring development, a messy split from the very charity he co-founded. The organization, created to support children affected by HIV/AIDS in Lesotho and Botswana, has been part of Harry's brand since his 20s. According to multiple reports, however, his relationship with the charity's leadership deteriorated badly. Dr. Sophie Shanduka, a respected figure in global health and a board member, allegedly accused Harry of bullying, claiming his presence had become toxic to the charity's reputation, an accusation no high-profile patron, especially one who has built a public image on compassion, wants attached to their name. Behind the scenes, the rift was reportedly about more than personality conflicts. Insiders said frustrations mounted over Harry's approach to fundraising, with one pointed criticism focusing on his reliance on high society polo matches and champagne galas, often held in Florida or other elite enclaves far removed from the communities the charity served. Dr. Shanduka allegedly viewed it as symptomatic of a larger issue: the optics of wealthy, predominantly white donors raising money in luxury settings for impoverished African children without any direct, visible connection to those they were helping, the very kind of image that fuels white savior criticism.
I wanted some huge, honestly, what a load of how is that allowed?
Twist that has charity observers shaking their heads. Stung by the fallout, Harry is reportedly considering launching a rival organization, one that would work in the same space, pursue similar goals, but without the colleagues who ousted him. A source quoted in the Mail on Sunday put it bluntly: he wants to outflank them. In other words, start over, but not necessarily change the playbook. From a PR perspective, it's a gamble. Building a foundation from the ground up is a massive undertaking, especially if potential partners are hesitant to align with a brand recently labeled disruptive and toxic in such a high-profile sphere. And if the new venture's structure or strategy looks too much like the one he just left, critics will be quick to question whether this is truly about the children or about salvaging personal pride. Even among those inclined to give Harry the benefit of the doubt, there's an unavoidable question of geography. In all his years living in California, why hasn't he championed equivalent causes closer to home? Los Angeles has one of the largest homeless populations in the United States, including thousands of at-risk children. Skid Row is just minutes from his Montecito mansion by helicopter. Yet, at least publicly, his charitable spotlight remains fixed an ocean away.
Is this working? She's always such an expert, but then she's so relatable because she never really knows, is she?
Of all people, Christian Bale has been spotted in Los Angeles physically helping build foster homes for siblings at risk of being separated by the system, a kind of direct, hands-on local contribution that could go a long way toward reshaping Harry's image in the U.S. The problem is, local work doesn't project the same global leader image, and those who know him say Harry still craves that international stage, the one that frames him as a humanitarian on a worldwide scale, rather than just a California transplant. The irony is that the more he doubles down on distant causes, the more those white savior critiques cement in the public consciousness. And the timing of his renewed African focus, coming so soon after whispers about the Masaka Kids branding, only intensifies that perception. Through all of this, Meghan has stayed publicly silent. No Instagram defense of his record, no heartwarming anecdotes in interviews, no joint appearances to present a united philanthropic front. For a couple who have built part of their brand on standing up for each other, that absence stands out. In the court of public opinion, silence is rarely neutral, which leads to a thornier question, one casting a shadow over every red carpet smile and perfectly coordinated Netflix promo shot. When Harry was still the palace's spare, one of his most talked about moves was a fiery statement defending Meghan in the early days of their relationship, calling out what he described as racist undertones in the British press, breaking royal protocol to publicly stand by her, and cementing himself as her champion. Over the years, that pattern continued. In the Oprah interview, he sat beside her, reinforcing and amplifying her grievances. In his memoir, he even shared private text messages between Meghan and Catherine, an almost unthinkable move for a royal because he believed it supported her side of the story. In documentary sound bites, he framed himself as her protector, the one who saw her pain and stepped in. That's the backdrop that makes her current silence so striking.
Honestly, how to cut a piece of bread, it's just lovely. And a bunch of, oh God, man, she's awful. Have you seen that? Oh, talk to me.
Harry is navigating what may be one of the most damaging periods to his reputation since leaving royal life, marked by the charity split, rumors of toxicity, and a rising wave of white savior criticism. Add to that ongoing legal disputes and uncertainty over the future of his philanthropic work, and the picture grows even more complicated. Throughout it all, Meghan's public voice has been noticeably absent. It's not that the public expects her to wade into every conflict, but the contrast between his consistent, vocal defense of her in the past and her current low profile is difficult to overlook. Even on her birthday, her polished, "Thank you to my husband" came only in passing. No photo of him, no personal acknowledgement of his struggles, just a fleeting nod tucked between carefully curated shots of herself.
It looks like a salad. What on earth? She made some cheese on this. Why is this fantastic looking?
For those who remember Harry's tearful "my wife" refrains, the imbalance now is hard to ignore. Some in Meghan's circle insist it's intentional, that she understands stepping into Harry's current controversies could draw more fire, and that staying quiet is her way of avoiding making things worse. It's a classic Hollywood instinct. Don't attach yourself to a headline that could harm your brand. But to others, particularly critics, It mirrors the very behavior they once accused the royal family of, failing to publicly defend Meghan when she was under attack. Now, in the eyes of some, she's leaving Harry to face the storm alone. Industry voices are divided. One Netflix insider claims Meghan is simply in brand tunnel vision mode, laser-focused on the American Riviera Orchard rollout and holiday special performance metrics, treating this like a launch window where nothing, not even bad press about Harry, can be allowed to interfere. Another observer is more blunt, arguing that Harry has sacrificed far more for this marriage than Meghan ever has, and that defending him publicly should be effortless. The fact that she hasn't speaks volumes. This is where Netflix's long game factors in. The streamer is fully aware of the cracks in public perception, even if they're not cracks in the marriage itself. They know that if the story ever shifts from us against the world to each protecting their own brand, demand for separate tell-alls will skyrocket, and they're already positioned to secure first rights if that moment arrives.
And did you see Jamie Kern Lima? Her podcasting friend is appearing in season 2, so we're gonna get more of the moans and the yes.
For now, the Sussexes are still presented as a united front in the credits, but in the court of public opinion, a split-screen narrative is already taking shape, and that fuels the question Hollywood insiders have been quietly asking for months. In this town, distance can be courteous or calculated, and lately the gap between Meghan, Harry, and the entertainment world they once aimed to dominate feels intentional. When they first signed that 9-figure Netflix deal, they were everywhere. A-list galas, red carpets, exclusive dinners with power players, making it easy to picture them as fixtures on the celebrity circuit. But over time, the invitations have slowed, the photo ops have dwindled, and the big-name collaborations have dried up. Part of the shift comes down to performance numbers. Their Harry and Meghan docuseries was a streaming juggernaut, racking up tens of millions of views in mere days. But since then, the Polo documentary underperformed, Heart of Invictus came and went with barely a ripple, and Live to Lead debuted to near silence.